Hey there, welcome to Mad Mel's Mic. Thanks for joining me. My name is Melissa and this is a podcast all about me, about my life with PTSD, about my life with a husband and kids and friends and everything in between. Thanks for tuning in. Hey everybody and welcome to Mad Mel's Mic, Season 2, Episode 10. I just want to take a moment and apologise that I didn't record last week. I had an episode planned to record with a mate and life got in the way and we didn't do it, and then I had the Posty ride, so yeah, I apologise, but let's get this episode started. So welcome again to Mad Mel's Mic. I really appreciate everybody tuning in and having a listen, and even just people taking the time to flick me a message, or when I see them bring up the podcast, and it's really humbling, so thank you so much for all of that. What have I been up to? It's probably been 2 weeks since I recorded last, and I know it's been on my socials that I did the Never Late Female Postie ride again this year, and I can say that I stayed upright, so that's very good, but I will get into that in a little bit. But let's start with the song of the week, which is Kingdom of Fear by Cameron Whitcomb. So let's have a listen.
The night in the back of my mind, like a chill running down my neck. So I bite my tongue in a light self-defense. Ask me how I'm being, I say I'm great, but under my skin, I'm not okay. Honey, I've been scared to death, looking in the mirror. Just another day in the kingdom of fear. Ask me how it's going, I say I'm fine, but if you look close, I ain't doing alright. Honey, I've been scared to death, wipe away the tears. Just another day in the kingdom of fear, the kingdom of fear.
It's funny because I have been getting on TikTok and Facebook Reels more often, and just doom scrolling Reels, and I just lose so much time. But the benefit of it is that I am able to hear new music, which is, I literally heard that song last night and I just thought, how true is it? First of all, we live in a society where we just ask people, how are you? And our automatic response, I'm doing good. Yep. And I think when you throw in a couple of mental health issues and stuff like that, it is just so much easier just to say, yeah, I'm good, because we are of the opinion that other people don't want to know or care about our feelings and where we are on that day, because we're already feeling quite worthless and we feel like we aren't enough. So we don't want to add that extra pressure and burden on other people to actually be honest in our communication and say, you know what, I'm having a really bad day. I'm really, really sad, whatever the case might be, whatever emotions you're feeling. And I think it's easier just to put on that brave face and smile and things like that. And I can tell you that I have been in that situation, and even with my husband, he would go, are you okay? Yep, I'm all good. But the longer I have gone along this mental health journey, the more I have been able to be honest in those answers when I am asked, how are you? And I've been able to articulate more, because I think it makes it easier on our loved ones to know exactly where we're staying. And that all started just using the SUD scales back from when I was in hospital. And it would start off with just saying a number, and then it sort of evolved as I was able to articulate more to explain how I am feeling at that time. But I think it's very, very important that we start using our words and articulating how we are feeling, because I think it's so important for everybody around us to hear it. And don't get me wrong, like if you're in the shop and some person that you may know and maybe an acquaintance and things like that, you don't have to pour your heart out to them. Like, I think we need to pick who we are opening up to and things like that. So yeah, it was a really good song. I like it. I actually don't think I've listened to the whole thing yet, but I will. I'm just about to go on a road trip to Sydney, so I'll certainly get a lot of music time in that. So as you know, and as I mentioned before, I did the Never Late Female Postie ride which is a charity fundraiser for an incredible charity that is called Wings for Kids, and they fly regional kids from different points in sort of the Central West more than anywhere into Sydney for appointments. So they will pick up, you have to get to the airport, so whether, say you're in Dubbo, you get to Dubbo Airport, you hop on the plane, you get to Sydney, wherever that you might be going, and they will organise transport to your appointment. They will wait for the appointment and then take you back to the plane and then fly you back home. And it's just takes an incredible amount of stress off the parents and caregivers of these children, so they're not having to sit 6 or 7 hours in a car and then try and find accommodation, and the financial burden of that in terms of fuel and also having to take time off work. It all just accumulates, as well as the emotional issues that come along with it, where you're taking your sick child into appointments, you could be getting bad news, and then the thought of having to drive home as well, and being able to be flown into these appointments reduces the time significantly, so they can get back into their house and the normal family activities, and if there's other children and things like that, they're not missing out on our parents for being away for a couple of days at a time to get to these appointments. So the charity itself is amazing. So this year there were 81 female riders. It's all only women, and surprisingly, considering that it's all women, and women can be a pack of bitches, and we all know that, and I say that with my hand on heart, knowing that I am also a female. The ride goes really, really smoothly. There's no bitchiness and things like that. So I think there could be a little bit of bickering for living in each other's pockets for an extended period of time, but other than that, it goes really well. So we started in Orange this year, and it was freezing, very, very cold. We had lunch in Blaney that day, and Orange to Blaney is not very far, maybe 45 k's or whatever, but I think it took us about 100 k's or close to 100 k's to get there, because we all go sort of back roads, and we take the very, very scenic route, but it was very enjoyable. And the roads that we take there are some highway riding, and I don't love that, sitting on a Posty bike when you got semis and stuff, sitting on 100, if not more. So yes, they look after us and take us on back roads, and some of these are bitumen, and a lot of them are dirt roads. So, I just want to quickly stop there and apologise, because my phone rang and it came through my laptop and then has totally distracted me. It was a good conversation, don't get me wrong. So I know the person who called me is going to be listening to this episode going, oh, I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Anyway, so a lot of dirt roads from there, and I was riding along okay, and the Posty bikes aren't the fastest of bikes by any means, and you're sort of doing really well if it can sit comfortably on sort of 70, 75. Well, for my bike, that's the case anyway. So a lot of the bitumen and stuff like that, I was probably sitting up around 60 on the dirt roads. I was a little bit more cautious, but we went well, and we ended up staying the night at Bathurst, and that's definitely only 45 k's to Bathurst, or maybe 55, anyway, something. And it took us 200 k's to get there, but it was so beautiful the way we went, and we know what we're getting into when we do this ride, that if we took the highway, we would be there in an hour or so, but we do this because it's fun. And so we spent the night at Bathurst on the mount at Ridges, and it was beautiful. It was really, really nice. And the first night of the ride is always the pink night with the dinner, because we all have communal dinners and stuff like that. Or it's always in sort of like the function room, auditorium, at wherever it is. For that place, it was at Ridges, and other places it was like the RSL or things like that. So it was nice to sit down and have that. But the group of us that I was with, there was 5 of us, and we dressed up as grandma bikey moles, and it was very, very fortunate for us, because Cliff, my son, was playing basketball in Bathurst at 5, so I had ridden my bike to watch him play, and dinner had started at 6. So by the time I got back to the hotel, it was probably 6. And when I walked into our room, the girls were just finishing getting ready. So I quickly got dressed into black jeans, a black shirt, this beautiful, ugly velvet pink vest with tassels and shit on it. It was the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Then one of the ladies put a roller in my hair, one of those old school fabric ones. Terrible makeup. And when we had fake cigarettes and stuff like that as well, that looked incredibly real. It was pretty cool. And so we walk into the room, and at this stage everybody was all seated, so we walked in with a bang, and we ended up winning best dress that night, and it was so much fun. But get up the next morning, we do a hot lap of Mount Panorama. A few of the ladies did 2 laps, but I was thinking, I just actually can't be bothered doing it again. Last year, I think I did 3 hot laps on the Posty bike. So when I say hot laps, there's nothing hot about it. I ain't going fast, particularly up those hills. The bike just can't make it. So we did a lap, not necessarily a hot lap. Anyway, so we had been given a warning the night before about a section of day 2's ride being quite, I can't remember what he said, but it was a road that we had to exercise extreme caution. And I tell you what, you knew it when you got to it. It was so steep. We were going down, and it was shaly and rocky. And look, I did all right. Like, I rode the whole time. I just kept it in first and just feathered the brake. One of the ladies who was riding in front of me, she had a stack like literally right in front of me, and I'm trying to brake fast but safe as well because I didn't want to skid or anything. And then so she hurt her ankle and she jumped in one of the support vehicles and didn't ride again until we came on the procession on the final day. And then one of the other ladies who I was riding with, a good friend of mine, she had a bit of a fall, but she was just going around a corner and just sort of dropped the bike with her on it. So she was fine, but I had seen those 2 sort of minor accidents up until lunch. And I just want to say here, I didn't think last year's bike accident had any impact on my brain. Like, I had always just said, it's a cool story and a gnarly scar. And yes, it still is a cool story. And yes, I still do have a gnarly scar, although it has gotten a bit better. It's not as keloidy. Anyway, that's beyond the point. But as soon as we left lunch on the second day and we had lunch at Safala, I didn't have any phone service. So I used one of the other ladies' phones and called my husband so he could let mum and dad know and stuff like that I had made it to lunch, because I think everybody was probably a little bit worried considering how last year's ended. So we left Safala. I was feeling pretty good, and we had a little bit of bitumen to start with, and so we were just pottering along there. And then I hit dirt for the first time that day after lunch, and I don't know what it was. I was in a completely different geographic area from where I crashed last year, but I crashed after lunch on dirt on day 2, and I have never been so scared in my life. And I sat on 20 Ks, like I literally was just telling myself, you can do this, just go slow. But I didn't realise that the accident from last year would affect me the way it did this year. And like every time, like once I got to the bitumen, I sort of felt a little bit better. I'm trying to do some bloody deep breathing while I'm on the dirt, riding along. And we ended up stopping because I was riding with one of my friends, and she couldn't see me because I was so far behind. And she pulled up, and like by the time I got there, I don't know how long she would have had to have waited. She goes like, "What's going on, Mel?" I said, "I am petrified. Like I am so scared." And she goes, "That's fine." She goes, "You can do this. You have got this. Just take your time, even if it takes hours. Like you can do this." And that's the problem. Like I know I've got the ability to ride. Like, yes, I am a cautious rider. I'm not going to say that I'm not. I'm not a speed demon. I am literally looking to enjoy the ride and get from A to B. And I've ridden on dirt. Like, I know I've ridden dirt bikes out in Walgett and Burke, and I know how to handle the dirt. So it's not like I didn't have the ability to do this, but my head was just messing with me big time. And I don't know how many Ks we had to go, but I don't know why my voice sounds so funny. I apologise. But it just seemed to take forever and ever. And we got into Mudgee, and we're staying at this really nice, we're staying at this hotel. It wasn't really nice because I called Ridge really nice. We're staying at this hotel, and it was nice. It was very neat and tidy. So, and you really can't complain. But as soon as I got in, I'm pretty certain like we were the last people to get in for the night, and it's not a race, and all the ladies who are the support, they're waiting. We've all got numbered high-vis vests on, and when we come into lunch and the motel in the evening, they count off our numbers to make sure everybody's made it in safely. So I think I was the last person to come through, which is it's not a race, and I know some people like to come in always first and stuff like that, but each to their own. Like, it wouldn't bother me if I came in last every day, twice a day. Like, it's just as long as I'm getting there. But then when I parked my bike, took my helmet off, and then saw one of the ladies who's in my group, I looked at her and I just burst into tears. And like, it was just relief. It was just sheer relief that I had actually made it. So yeah, it was just interesting to see and feel that last year's ride did affect me. And that's okay, because I was able to get up, I was able to stay on my bike, and I was able to finish that section of the ride, which is so rewarding. So rewarding to know that I had done it and I hadn't given up. And I hadn't given up on my ability, but I hadn't given up on myself and what I knew I had the capacity to do. So yeah, that was really nice. And my first person I wanted to call was Mel, and the selfish bitch was in China and didn't answer. So I called my husband. Don't get me wrong, I love him, but he was really good actually. And it had been a little while since I got back into the motel. And I just burst into tears again, and he was very, very helpful on the phone, so it was nice. So the ride, once I got on the bike the next morning, I felt like a new person. And I didn't go crazy, I didn't go stupid, but I actually enjoyed day 3 and 4. So day 3, we had lunch at Ballymore Hair on the Dog pub, and that was really nice. We had this pretty gnarly water crossing, and it was funny because that was before lunch actually, and we're riding along and we stopped, and I said to my mate, oh look, I just got to go pee. So I had to do a bush wee, and the day before when I had to do a bush wee, I just drip dried, which wasn't an issue. But then this day I thought, no, you know what, I'm going to take a little bit of tissues with me so I can dry myself so it's not gross on the bike. Anyway, so 5-10 Ks after I stopped for my bush wee, we had this water crossing. And I can honestly tell you now, there was no point using toilet paper when I went and did my bush wee, because I was drenched from head to toe. But if you have a look at the video I put together on Mad Mel's Mark about my ride, you'll be able to see the water crossing. But yeah, it was lots and lots of fun. And when we got to the pub, people were taking their boots off and just having water draining out of them. But I had motorbike boots on, but they were lace up and sort of hard to get on and off when they weren't wet, and I just knew if I took them off now I would never be able to get them back on. So by the time I got into the motel at Wellington that night, my feet were like prunes. That was so wrinkly, it was funny. So last night we stayed in Wellington, and then we rode 140 Ks to a beautiful homestead in Dubbo, and we all had lunch there, and then from the homestead we rode probably 2 Ks up the road in procession to Dubbo Zoo, and it was really, really nice. And then the gala night was the final night in Dubbo, nice formal dinner. We all had to get dressed up and look a little bit fancy, and 2 of the planes have officially been logoed with the never late female postie ride. So that was pretty cool to see 2 planes sitting there with our logo. And we ended up raising just over $400,000 on this year's ride. And this is the 4th year the ride has been happening. And over the 4 years, they've raised over $1.3 million for the charity, which is incredible. And this charity is all run by volunteers. So there is not one person who draws a wage from the charity. So the money is going directly into the leasing of the planes and the vehicles that are used. So yeah, it's just a beautiful, beautiful charity. So yes, that was my week and my ride, and I'm so incredibly proud of myself that I was able to squash those fears or work through those fears to get to the end of the ride. So it was an amazing week. I have met the most incredible women that I am honoured to call my friends, and I will be keeping in contact with them. I'm already planning rides to go and visit some of them as well. So yes, it was really nice. The question I've been asked, will I do it again? Yes, next year, and yes, I will. So keep an eye out. I just want to be more ride fit. Like, I hadn't ridden properly since last year, and yeah, my body certainly hurt. Yeah, I'm still trying to catch up, and I finished it on Friday, and it's now Tuesday and I'm still wrecked. Anyway, let's finish with the thought of the week. And as always, I am opening up to a random page of The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse by Charlie Maxey. Okay, what have we got today? Well, hello. Do you have a favourite saying? Asked the boy. Yes, said the mole. What is it? If at first you don't succeed, have some cake. I see. Does it work? Every time. Right. It's a good lesson to know. Have some cake. All right. Everybody, thank you for tuning into this week's episode. Thanks for listening, and have a good week, and please be very kind to yourself. Thanks again.
Thanks for tuning in to Mad Mel's Mic. I'm Melissa Smith, and I hope you've enjoyed listening. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, and don't forget to like and follow. Have a great week, and don't forget to be kind to yourself.